when we're playing dominant chords, we've got lots of options. Perhaps too many options. Like you can do a Mixolydian sound. You can do an altered sound. A diminished sound. A Phrygian Dominant sound. A Lydian Dominant sound. How do we know which one to use? When do we use them? What are some good voicings? What are some good tune examples of all of these? We'll talk about that and more in this video. Stay tuned. Welcome everyone, my name's Adam Maness, that's Bob DeBoo on the bass and Caleb Kirby on the drums. Today we're talking about dominant sounds. We're answering a frequently asked question around here at Open Studio, which is, which dominant should I use? Now, we're talking about chords, but we're also talking about scales. We're talking about chord-scale theory. There are many ways to get chords, and there are many ways to get some improvised lines, but chord-scale theory is a classic, tried and true way to get you started down this road. It's not the only way, but it's a really fun way to get sounds. And what we mean by chord-scale theory is we pick our scale, which you can really think of not as like a linear scale, but more of a color palette of notes. These are the 7 or 8 notes that we are building our melodies with and building our chords with. That's generally how it works. So what we're gonna do in this video is go over a bunch of options for some chord scale theory on dominant chords. There are a lot of options on dominant chords. It's the most malleable chord that there is, meaning that it's designed to hold a lot of tension that will eventually be released on, say, a major tonic or a minor tonic or somewhere else. But they're just magical at being able to hold like these alterations and these suspensions. They're so good, dominant chords are, at that. And because they're so good at that, composers and players have come up with so many different colors over these dominant chords that it can be a bit confusing. And knowing which dominant is the most commonly used in any given situation can be very, very helpful, because there are some very clear situations that you hear musicians go to again and again. All of this is, by the way, up to you completely. You can break all of these rules, but it might be helpful for you to know what musicians before you have done with these dominant sounds so that you can make some informed choices. So let's start at the beginning. The natural dominant, right? This is the 5th mode of the major scale. In the key of C, that is G7. So this is called the Mixolydian mode, and this is our color palette for a G7 without any alterations in the key of C. It's literally all the white notes on the piano from G to G. So you got G, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now notice that the key signature, there's no accidentals, and in the scale, there's no accidentals. That won't always be the case with everything we're doing, but for this, the most basic version of a dominant sound, it is. Now, you might notice that I keep saying the word sound instead of chord or scale. It's because these really are sounds. Like I said, I like to think of these as tonal color palettes more than I do even a scale, because we're not really thinking about these in a linear fashion like you would practice your scales in classical lessons. These are more just like the options of note choices in any given period of time in a piece of music. So here are some ways we can build chords from that sound, right? From that Mixolydian sound. We've got two-handed rooted voicings, two-handed rootless voicings, and just left-hand rootless voicings. These are the most basic kinds of voicing structures that you might use. There are certainly more than this, but these are great to get you started. So as you can see here, again, no accidentals in the key signatures, no accidentals in the chords. There's nothing altered about any of these. These are all in the key of C, right? All of these notes are from that G Mixolydian scale. So in our first G13 voicing here, we've got the root, the 7, the 3rd, the 13, and the 9. And then we can resolve that to our tonic, C. That's a great use of that unaltered dominant. For our rootless, there is a root in this chord, but it's way up on top. There's no bass in the bottom on this chord because we're gonna let Bob play that. But we've got the 7th, 3rd, 13, 9, 5, and then the root up top. And that resolves to this C major 13. Pretty, right? And then for the left hand, it's the exact same thing as our previous rootless voicings, just with no right hand. And you might use this to play melodic material in your right hand. Let's take this nice and slow. Let's do like a nice groove on this one, just real slow, and practice playing it. Let's start with the rooted example, just that first measure. Let's loop it. 1, 2, 3, and. Pretty, right? You got it. Keep going. That first measure, 4 more times. Now, even though Bob's playing the roots, we can play the roots. We could also play rootless. Let's check out our second measure here. These voicings work great, again, for this G with the 13 and the 9, but all just natural, in the scale, no alterations, dominant. Just some voicing examples for you of each one of these different kinds of dominant sounds. Now notice, because there's no alterations, that it's very clean sounding. Check out the left-hand voicings. Again, Bob has the bass note, so we don't need to have that root in these chords if we don't want to. And with our right hand free, we can improvise using that same scale. Basically just all the white keys. Isn't that cool? How about it for Bob and Caleb, everybody? Laying it down for us. So that's the most basic version, and if you've played any kind of dominant chords, you've probably played some kind of version for that. Now, this sounds best when going to this dominant with no alterations, just the Mixolydian sound. Sounds best going to a C major. You might play it going to a C minor. There's no rule that says you can't, but because there is that E natural in the scale and the chord, it sounds best going to the C that has that common tone of E natural in the C major, right, which is that major third. So you'll often hear players use this unaltered dominant as a 5-1 cadence going to a major tonic. There's a different dominant we can use going to a minor tonic that we'll talk about in a minute, but this is like the go-to easy peasy version going to a major tonic. And there's some examples that we can see in the music too. This is Have You Met Miss Jones, very famous jazz standard. Key of F, right? And then look at this third measure here of the melody. That basically walks up that C Mixolydian, right? Which is just C to C in the key of F, right? This is all that F major sound, that C Mixolydian sound. Great example of if you did an altered version of this, like put an altered chord here, it would clash with the melody, right? You need that natural 5 and 13 and 9. Doesn't mean that you always have to do it, but if you want a very consonant sound, you can just use that Mixolydian sound over that entire C7 and it's gonna sound great. Another version of the dominant chord that you might see used is like over a blues as a tonic, right? Which is kind of a whole other thing. For this session, we're really just focusing on dominants that are 5-1 based. So like a dominant that leads you to some kind of tonic resolution. Okay, the next version of a dominant sound that we're going to talk about is the diminished scale. This is called the half-whole diminished scale, and they call it that because it's a series of half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Now, you might notice that we're still in the key of C major there in the key signature. However, there are many, many accidentals on this, right? This scale has a flat 9, a sharp 9, a natural third, and a sharp 11. It's an 8-note scale. But isn't that crazy? It's got both a flat 9 and a sharp 9, and it's a 9 because it's got a major third. It's really, if you're just basing it off of a G chord, it doesn't make much sense, but it sure does sound pretty, and that's all that really matters. This is another dominant sound that you would mostly use going from a dominant 7th chord to a major tonic. So you most often hear this used going to a C major, although you could certainly go to C minor as well. You might hear someone like Herbie Hancock loves this going in a minor key, but very often you'll hear this going to C major. Why? Again, because it's got that E natural, which is so crucial for the C major, right? So you'll often use this as a 5 chord that goes to a major. It's really the first option you can use when you want to add some of those altered sounds to your chords. Here are some incredible voicings. You're going to love these. This is where we all start to sound a little bit like Bill Evans. Same voicing as before, except now we have a flat 9 on our G13, right? And again, all of these notes are from that scale. We're building these voicings from that scale. The C, though, is from the C major scale. Right? Just the G7s are built from that diminished scale, that half-whole diminished scale. So we've got our G13 flat 9 and our rooted. Our rootless, get a load of this. You have the 3rd, 7th, 13 in the left hand, and then the right hand you got the flat 9, sharp 11, natural 13, and the root on top. This is something you would hear Peter Martin play, Bill Evans play. Isn't that gorgeous? And then, of course, our C major 13. And then for our left hand, we've got our G13, got our flat 9 in there. You can do sharp 11 if you want. There are many options, but I love these voicings. Let's add a little groove to this and try playing our first example, the rooted voicings. 1, 2, 3, and. Again, a lot more tension, right? Back to the natural. Listen to the difference. That A natural, right? Isn't that crazy? Just 1 note difference. Back to the flat 9. Whew. And this voicing is a go-to voicing for your rooted chords. Let's try the rootless. Bar 2 here. It's sick, isn't it? It's so good. And now let's try the left hand voicings. Again, when we're pulling from that diminished sound, they sound so good going to a major chord. And when we're improvising with our right hand free over that G13 flat 9, we can use that diminished scale. Amazing, right? So that diminished sounds so good, but don't just take my word for it. How about on Green Dolphin Street? Here we are in the bar 9, 10, 11, and 12. You can see from the D, we're walking up that diminished, right? That's all. a section of that diminished scale. So we can assume when we get to the G7 that we can use as a color palette for both our chords and our improvisation, that G half-whole diminished. Let's try playing this a little bit. We're just going to loop this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Try it again. It sounds so good, that diminished harmony over that D7. One more time here. Amazing. You could also do some direct, I mentioned Bill Evans a couple of times, only because, I mean, listen to this. This is My Romance, just the pickup to My Romance. If we apply that diminished chord, we're in the key of B flat here, right? So we're gonna use the F, half-whole diminished, F, G flat, A natural, B, C, D, E flat, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. But if we build chords, you know what I mean? On the My Romance there. And then another Bill Evans thing, the Alice in Wonderland. You hear him directly do this. Right? The first 4 bars of Alice in Wonderland. That's straight from those voicings we were playing. Let's do the Alice in Wonderland real quick. This is in 3/4. 1, 2, 3, a 2, 2, 3. Just gorgeous. It really is gorgeous. And notice that both of these are going to major chords, right? You just hear it so often because of that major third in the key that you're in on our G13. That's that E natural. If you were to use like a E flat, like an altered sound, it sounds really good, but it's just different, right? It's just a different kind of tension. Whereas with the natural, it's got a note that is common to both the G chord, the dominant, and the C chord, the tonic. Cohesion. I believe they call that cohesion. Okay, so those are 2 examples of dominant sounds that you can play, that you hear most often going to a major tonic, right? Both of those G7 chords, whether that's from the Mixolydian sound or from the half-whole diminished sound, both sound great going to C major. Again, you can use them going to C minor. No one says you can't. You don't have to ask your grandma. You can just do it. But most often, what you hear when people want to go to a minor tonic is a more tense, altered sound that includes some of the tones we were just talking about. So this is the Phrygian Dominant, which is a very funny name for a sound, but it is the 5th mode of the C harmonic minor. Now the C harmonic minor scale is a funky little scale you might have learned in your classical lessons if you took them. That's just C, D, the minor third E flat, F, G, the minor 6, A, and then it jumps up a minor third to B natural. So that kind of vibe, right? Now the Phrygian Dominant is, if you're in the key of C minor, your G7 chord, you can play that C harmonic minor. We think of it starting on G, but it's really just a palette of notes, right? We're not really thinking about it linear anyway. This is just a collection of notes. But it's a great way to get a dominant sound that sounds good going to a minor tonic. Why? There's an E flat, right? Which is the minor third in the key of C minor, which is the 3rd. In fact, if you think about C minor as being the natural minor, the only difference between this and the harmonic minor is that B flat is a B natural, which gives you more of a sense of longing towards the tonic. That B natural as opposed to B flat, which sounds cool but is not the same kind of vibe. So let's look at some voicings that we can use, some chords that we can use from that dominant sound. Our first G chord here, I had to write in those extensions. G7 with a flat 9 and a flat 13. Going to our C minor 6-9. It just sounds so good going to that minor tonic. Because we've got that E flat and that A flat. Notice the key signature is the key of E flat major, C minor. It sounds just awesome, right? Same thing for our rootless voicings there. Some big spread voicings. Put a root down there. And same thing with our left hand. Right, you got the 7th, that major third of G7, and that E flat. Again, all of this built from that Phrygian Dominant, that 5th mode of the C harmonic minor. Let's try playing our first example, the rooted voicings. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Play with me here, play with me here. Let's try the rootless voicings, big spread voicings. Notice we got E flat in that key signature. Lots of doubled notes, but that's okay, they sound really good. And finally the left hand. And again, when we're playing that G7 flat 13, we can use that G Phrygian Dominant to improvise. In fact, we could use it over the C minor too. Give it a shot. Just an incredible dominant chord to use in a minor context. Let me show you what I mean here. This is Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. Check it out. This whole melody is based on that minor. Isn't that beautiful? So if you're playing in a minor key, don't sleep on the Phrygian Dominant as your dominant of choice. You'll often see like a G7 in Softly written with a flat 13 or a flat 9 in the voicing you'll see on a chart. They want you to play this kind of sound. That's what the composer is telling you at that point. There's one more thing that you might consider. This is something that I've heard Barry Harris talk about in videos, but I think is really cool, is like thinking about this scale when you're improvising over it, over a G7, staying within the B natural to the A flat. Like don't jump over that minor third, but just like staying within that octave. Like if you try that, all of a sudden you start hearing all of these melodies. It's a really cool kind of pro tip with this one of like when you hit this dominant as an improviser, see if you can stay within that major major 6 space between the B and the A flat. Like don't do the jump over the octave and see what you can come up with. It's a really fun exercise to do. The next dominant sound that we're going to be talking about is the Lydian dominant sound. This is another mode of another kind of minor scale. So this is based off of the melodic minor ascending. So the melodic minor scale is a really interesting scale. In C, the C melodic minor, ascending is C, D, E flat, the minor third, F, G, A natural, and B natural. Now, incidentally, when you descend the melodic minor, there's a B flat and an A flat. So ascending is different than descending. But a lot of musicians use the melodic minor as ascending specifically, this group that we have written out here, as a way to create modes. And there are many, many chords and scales and sounds that people get using the modes of the melodic minor ascending. The most common has got to be the Lydian dominant sound, which is the fourth mode of this melodic minor ascending. So this C melodic minor ascending scale, but starting on F, gets us an F dominant scale, but with that sharp 4, aka sharp 11. We'll talk about sharp 4, sharp 11, and flat 5 in just a second. It's all very confusing, but I think I got a handle on it now. Most commonly, you'll see this referred to as a sharp 11 sound. So if you got like F7 sharp 11, what they really mean is that F Lydian dominant. That F, it's like a Mixolydian, but with that sharp 4, that B natural. There are some really cool voicings that we can use with the Lydian dominant sound. Notice there are no tonics here. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but voicing wise here, the rooted voicing, I love this voicing. The root and the 7th in the left hand, then the 3rd, the sharp 11, B natural, the 13 and the 9. Crunchy. Everything I want out of that Lydian dominant sound. The rootless, this is really important and really easy. We've got the 3rd and the 7th and the 3rd in the left hand, and then a G major triad. Right, the triad a whole step up from our root F, G major in our right. This gives us the 13, the 9, and the sharp 11, like 3 pretty notes, 3 upper extensions in this triad. It's a great way to get upper extensions, to use these triads. And then here's the flip side, the 3rd, the 7th, and another inversion of our G major triad. You know, lower inversion, upper inversion. You hear both used a lot. And then finally, the left hand, you got your classic flat 5 voicing here. And then our B voicing, you've got this. Now, I don't have any tonics with any of these because I wanted to make a point that very often when you have a dominant chord that does not resolve to a tonic, that does not resolve to, like in this case, a B flat major or a B flat minor, very often composers, players, improvisers, arrangers use a Lydian dominant sound. They use that flat 5 or sharp 11 sound on those dominant chords that don't resolve to a tonic. And you're like, what kind of dominant chord doesn't resolve to a tonic? I'll show you some examples in just a second. Let's play these together. Maybe give me an F7 groove, guys, and we'll just do some Lydian dominant stuff. 1, 2, 3, and rooted. Crunchy. Let's do rootless. Let's do our left hand. Isn't that killing? It's got this really like crunchy, airy, beautiful sound. So I was talking about how these Lydian dominant sounds often get used in situations where the dominant chord doesn't resolve to a tonic that's up a 4th or down a 5th, right? So, you know, in this case, we're playing a night in Tunisia, and this is in the key of D minor, and oftentimes an A7 would be used, maybe with the Phrygian dominant sound, to resolve to the D minor, totally. But in this case, Dizzy Gillespie uses an E flat 7. And oftentimes players will treat this chord as a sharp 11 or a flat 5 with that A natural, right? This is a tritone substitution. Let's try playing this through once. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful song, incredible song, so much fun to play. But that Lydian Dominant sound, using these voicings, like in this case, you know, if we're playing this, I'm gonna play the 3rd and the 7th of that E flat in my left hand and an F major triad in my right. Bob, can we try that? 1, 2, 3, and done. It sounds so good, right? That Lydian Dominant sound, that sharp 11, that A natural sound. Sounds so good. We can also hear it in Billy Strayhorn's Take the A Train. All right, Take the A Train, key of C. We've got that D7 flat 5, which for all intents and purposes is the same note right here, this G sharp A flat over the D7, and it creates the same sound. The difference between a sharp 11 and a flat 5 is fairly simple. The flat 5 does not line up with chord-scale theory per se. You could say that it's from the whole tone scale, but not a lot of people are playing the whole tone scale over that chord. Some people are, but it's not the preferred version that I hear a lot of people using. But what the flat 5 is telling you is, hey, I don't want a natural 5 in this chord. Make sure that it's always a flat 5, right? Now, what a sharp 11 says is that there's a G sharp in here, but there could be an A, right? That A is in play. But when you see flat 5, the composer arranger is saying, in the chord, I don't want an A at all. I don't want that perfect 5th. I just want that flat 5. When you hear people improvise over a flat 5, they almost always use a Lydian Dominant. Actually, a lot of the old school cats just use a Mixolydian. They don't even worry about the flat 5 on their lines. They're just playing dominant, right? They're just playing the... Right? But if you hear anything, mostly you hear sort of like Lydian Dominant sound over that D7 chord here. Even if it says flat 5, they're playing a sharp 11. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of confusing, but hey, this is music theory. It's all confusing. Let's try playing this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and... Try it again. There's an extra bar here. That's simple, right? So the only difference between a sharp 11 and a flat 5 is with a flat 5, the composer or arranger or musician really doesn't want you to play the natural 5. And the sharp 11, it's in play. However, most flat 5s, a lot of musicians treat them when they're blowing over them, improvising, as a Lydian Dominant or a Mixolydian, which I think is amazing, actually. You also hear this sound in The Girl from Ipanema, Antonio Carlos Jobim. 1, 2, 3, and... So a couple of things to notice about both Take the A Train and Girl from Ipanema. Take the A Train, where's that D7 going? It's going to a D minor, right? That D7 is not resolving to a G major or a G minor. It's resolving to a D minor. So it's not resolving a 4th up or a 5th down. And that's why you'll hear a flat 5 often used in that context. Same thing here. In Girl from Ipanema, our G7, you'll hear often a sharp 11 used in there. Where's that G7 going? If it were a dominant chord, a typical secondary dominant or primary dominant, it would be going to a C major or C minor. But it's going to a G minor, right? And our G flat 7 with the sharp 11, and the melody has a C natural, so it's definitely a sharp 11. Where is that going? It's not going to C flat, B major. It's going to F, and it's going down a half step. So again, these are all examples of dominant chords that don't resolve up a fourth or down a fifth, like a typical dominant might, but that are sort of hanging dominants, right? They're dominants that are untraditional. And this sharp 11 flat 5 sound, for whatever reason, really draws our ear into the next chord, which in both of these cases is the parallel minor to what they're playing. Pretty interesting stuff. Here's another example, Thelonious Monk's Dream. That B flat chord has that E natural, right? Flat 5, sharp 11. I think on a lot of charts it's written as flat 5 because Monk definitely doesn't want that F in the chord at all. But in general, if you think about it as sharp 11, it's going to work. And you hear players, when they play this, use, again, B flat Mixolydian, that E flat natural, even though the melody has an E, or sorry, with that E flat, even though that melody has E natural. You'll hear a lot of Mixolydian over that B flat 7 on the choruses that people are blowing over Monk's Dream, which is hilarious. Or you hear a lot of Lydian Dominant sound. You hear that sharp 11 sound, especially on modern players. So last but certainly not least is the altered scale. Now this is another mode of the melodic minor ascending. So our last Lydian Dominant was the fourth mode of the C melodic minor ascending. The altered scale is the seventh mode of C melodic minor ascending. So the same notes as C melodic minor ascending starting on B. And it gets us a B7 altered. We can build our melodies and our chords from this scale. Isn't that cool? So here are some chords you can build with our altered scale, or our C melodic minor. On B we've got B, and then we've got the third, the 7, the sharp 9, and that flat 13. These are the hallmarks of the altered, the sharp 9 and flat 13. There's also the flat 9, by the way, and the sharp 11, all part of the altered. For our rootless voicings, E flat and A and G triad, D sharp and A, G triad, A and D sharp, G triad. Wait a minute. Where have I seen these before? I've seen these somewhere. Bob, I've seen these. I can't quite place it. Where have I seen? Oh yeah! F13 sharp 11, the Lydian Dominant, also based off of the C melodic minor ascending. The exact same voicings as our B7 altered. Imagine that. They're from the same scale, the F7 sharp 11 and the B7 altered. These are the same voicings with a different root, if you haven't noticed. Isn't that crazy? Notice too that the roots are a tritone away. F and B are a tritone away from each other, which is why you would, and they share the guide tones, the tritone here, the D sharp and the A. It's the 7th and 3rd of F7 and the 3rd and 7th of B7, which is why we call it the tritone sub. When we're going to B flat as the tonic, you can use the F, you can use the B. All we're changing is the root. One's a Lydian Dominant, one's the altered. They're cousins, they're chord cousins. Same voicings here for the left hand voicings as well. So, back to A Night in Tunisia, right? So we used our E flat 7 sharp 11, which is, I said, the tritone sub going to D minor. But check it out. Remember this line? That A7 altered is the chord cousin of the E flat 7 sharp 11. They're from that same scale. That B flat melodic minor ascending scale is where we got that from. And so the E flat 7 sharp 11 and the A7 altered, they both work as a dominant chord going to our D minor. Isn't that mind-blowing? So much fun. There's something that I want you to do to unlock this. This is a little arpeggio game that you can use. This is really just going up that B flat melodic minor in an arpeggio. So we have our A7, And our E flat 7, same line. One is an altered and one is a dominant 7 sharp 11, but they use those important notes, right? If we look at what this is, it's just a B flat melodic minor sound, B flat minor major 7 sound, which is the tonal color palette of both the Lydian dominant and the altered. Let's try playing this. This is a good exercise for unlocking the sound of this scale. 1, 2, 3, and... E flat. Try splashing around. Just on that B flat melodic minor ascending mode. It's the same scale used for both of these chords, the A7 altered and the E flat 7 sharp 11. And you can build both of these chords from the notes of that scale. All right. Okay. Last but not least, we started this session by playing a little What Is This Thing Called Love? Here, I would like you to try to play through some of those altered sounds. We've got a G minor 7 flat 5. On the C7 altered, we're going to use that D flat melodic minor ascending. So we got C, D flat, E natural, G flat, A flat, and B flat. Going to F minor. Then we got a little 2-5 going to C. We're going to use the G7 altered, the A flat melodic minor ascending starting on G. G, A flat, B natural, D flat, E flat, F. Those are our 2 altered scales. Let's try playing this. Let's swing it a little bit with some brushes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and... Let's trade. Let's trade 4s. I'll go. You got it. My turn. You got it. See if you can get that altered sound on those dominants. You got it. Last time. You got it. Hey, give it up for Bob the Boo. Give it up for Caleb Kirby, laying it down for you this whole session. My name is Adam Maness. We have been very happy to talk to you about all of these different dominant sounds. Do yourself a favor and download the PDF if you want some more time with it. I certainly do. These are timeless sounds that we want to work on for pretty much our whole lives, getting them into all 12 keys and all the different kinds of chords. Really fun to splash around in these colors with you today. Until next time, happy practicing.